authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
go like, God, I hope this guy was getting some hazard pay. He did testify as to what his salary was. So you can decide if this would be enough for you. He said he started out at 80,000 a year. That's nothing to sneeze at, and actually went up to 100,000. But man, cleaning up after those freak-offs. Anyway, 80 to 100,000. That's what he said his salary was. And then on cross-examination, this was interesting because they
So
made
let's pause it right there, sippers. What do you guys think? $80,000 to $100,000 a year to clean up Diddy's excrements and everything extra for the freak-offs. Would you do it? Drop your answers in the chat and let me know. We are reviewing everything Diddy trial. Remember, when you come in, hold your teacups up, get them filled up. We are sipping Diddy teas today. And like and subscribe. That's how you show your blessing back to the channel.
Jonathan talk about the fact that one, he had many other responsibilities. The King Knights were just a small part of that. And they asked him also how he felt about Diddy. And he said, actually, he was asked this by the prosecutors, which is also interesting, that the prosecutors asked him how he felt about Diddy today. And he said, I feel great about him, the same way I felt when I was leaving my employment, which is an odd thing after all those things he just said he had to do, which you would think would be very distasteful. He said he still felt great about Diddy. He said that on cross-examination, he had never seen him be violent with anyone, and that, which I thought was an odd thing to ask him because, I mean, we all, as part of this testimony, we've seen the Cassie video, the jurors have seen it, they know about it.
Okay, so if this is the same Jonathan, y'all, we covered a piece of a couple of interviews he's done on some shows that he's done. We did one like 2 weeks ago where he said Diddy forced him to have sex with a woman. Okay, he has, said in interviews otherwise about Diddy that he did not say on the witness stand. I wonder why that is. Because in a testimony that he gave, or not testimony, in a interview that he did, go back a couple weeks ago, it's in one of my long ass Diddy reviews. But anyway, you can find it. Just Google, Jonathan interviews or whatever. He did an interview overseas somewhere in like France or some fucking where he Ella, mommy's talking Diddy stuff and I don't want to go. And he, was saying things about how it wasn't so pleasant to work for Diddy, especially doing all of these extra, things of that nature as far as the freak-offs were concerned, the King Knights, as Diddy had him call him or whatever. He was always having to be out late at night, any time of the day or night, scouting for drugs, scouting for prostitutes, cleaning up after it. And, it was overworked and underpaid. Now he's saying a different tune. I wonder why that is.
Why does it matter that Jonathan never saw him hit a woman or anybody else? But they had him talk about that. And then he talked about some text messages between himself and Jane where they were talking about the things he needed to pack up, that Jane would ask him to pack up for these King Knights. And I think that was interesting because what they wanted to point out was that Jane was involved in setting up these things. And again, this is all about trying to make it clear that she was into this lifestyle and Diddy was not forcing her into that. That was what the defense got clear to the jury on cross-examination. So winners and losers, today I gotta say it's prosecutors, because they got back to, after several days of Jane being cross-examined and really making it murky for the jurors as to whether or not she was forced into this lifestyle or not. Today you just had people talking about the bad things, right? You had the special agent talking about all these things they found, the ammunition, the drugs, probably not that shocking to the jury anymore, but certainly the ammunition and certain firearms that had serial numbers scratched off, all of that just looks really shady. So that's bad. And then you have Jonathan detailing everything he had to go through as an employee of Diddy's. All that stuff isn't good. It's just not good for the character of Diddy. It's not good for what he was making employees and people in his organization do. And that's going to inch closer to racketeering. I don't think the prosecutors have fully shown their cards on that yet, but today I would say the prosecutors were the winners. Next week, we are expecting the testimony of Brendan Paul, a guy whose face you probably remember when the raids went down. He got arrested after the raid in Florida when they went on Diddy's private jet. He was the so-called drug mule and who was arrested and charged, but those charges have been dropped. Perhaps because it was a first offense, it was a state charge, state crime. And they made a point when they dropped those charges of saying, the federal prosecutor said, we did not strike a deal with this guy. The charges were not dropped because we are letting him off of testifying. He is expected on the stand next week, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about what he had to do under Diddy's employ. So looking forward to that next week, and maybe the prosecution will be wrapping up their case. Then we'll get to see who Diddy's team wants to call to the stand.
All right, that was some updates from TMZ. Thank you, TMZ. Okay. Let's keep it moving. Chaos in the courtroom, Diddy trial, TMZ. But no, like I said, while my computer's catching up, thank you, sippers. Remember, drop your teacups in the chat. Let us know how you are sipping this tea from Diddy. Would you guys be willing to clean up hotel rooms left by Diddy for 80 to 100 grand
hey everybody,
a year?
Charles here. Welcome to day 22 of Diddy's trial. And boy, was it a soap opera today.
Well, my computer's catching up. I'm not going to hold you, say, a regular hotel maid or somebody making $30,000 a year.
The saga of Jane is over after a total of 6 days on the stand.
I don't know. My computer is taking a little bit of time to catch up. Anywho, we're sipping on teas Diddy today. You know, lots of stuff coming out, a lot of stuff going in. The trial, like Kanye, coming in and going right the fuck back out. I think that's what a lot of this.
She is done, but she went out. I won't say she went out with a bang. That seems insensitive, but she did tell a story that caused all sorts of meetings outside of court without the jury present. big kerfuffle over whether or not what she could tell about this story, about something that happened in Vegas. And this quote has everything to do with that Vegas meeting. How could you go to another man's freak off? Yes, that is something that Diddy said. We'll get to that other freak off in just a bit. But first, Jane's last day on the stand. So she began the day under cross-examination, and there were a lot of questions about her and Diddy and this fight that they had in June of 2024. We've told you about this. This was the one where Jane says that he chased her around the house, kicked in several doors, and then she had to run several blocks away and hide. And that when she came back to the house, he was still there, and that she ended the night, she says that he basically forced her to perform oral sex on a male escort who came over. So speaking about that night, she said that things really got heated because Diddy saw her phone and that there were text messages with this guy, Anton. Anton is an entertainer, male escort that Diddy and Jane had been with in the past, and that he had seen these text messages between the two of them during January of 2024. And during January of 2024, Jane and Diddy were on a break. Just to give you the timeline to go back, Cassie files her lawsuit in November of 2023. And then after Jane reads the lawsuit, she feels like this is, her whole life that she's reading. She and Diddy go on a break. So this was the event that caused all this, a meeting between prosecutors, Diddy's attorney, and the judge in chambers. This had nothing to do, the jury did not even know this went. It was a very long meeting at the beginning of the day. The reason this was being discussed is because Jane has all the information about this story, and we're going to tell you what happened in Las Vegas in a moment. But she has all this information, and all we know at this point is that she has testified that she was in Vegas, and there was a very famous rapper who she had traveled to Vegas with. Now, the defense really, really wants the name of this rapper to come out in court. And the prosecutors are saying, no, there's no reason for this, Your Honor. There's no reason to put this person's name out there. It's not relevant to this case. But Mark Agnifilo is arguing very strongly that this should come out because during this event, which we'll get to, I know, I keep teasing, sorry. But during this event, he says there were 7 or 8 other people in the room. They all know about this. And he says people are going to post about it on social media. The name is going to be out there. And he says that the public deserves, that all of this deserves to come out in a public trial. That it shouldn't just be talked about on social media. If it's going to be out there, it needs to be in the trial and the jury needs to know about it. Well, government won. Prosecutors convinced the judge that there was no reason to put the name out there. So, sad part is we can't tell you the name because it did not come out in court. But here's what happened during that January 2024 incident. Jane says that she got on a private jet. So it's the 3 of them traveling to Vegas on this rapper's jet. The rapper, his significant other, and Jane. And when they get to Vegas, they bump into Anton. Anton is at the party that is going on. And Anton is, of course, one of the male escorts that has been with Jane and Diddy in the past. They are in Vegas and they go into, at some point, they're in a hotel room. And as Jane describes it, there are 7 or 8 people standing around watching Anton have sex with a woman, not the rapper's significant other and not Jane. So they're all partying, watching this happen in this hotel room. Jane says that she's talking to this rapper, and the rapper tells her at some point that he would really like to have sex with her, not in those words, and that she, at some point, flashes everybody in the room just because, I don't know, just because you're in Vegas, she was having a good time. So why was the defense fighting so hard for this to come out? I think, and we don't know for sure, that the defense wanted the name to come out because if this person is as famous as Jane is making it out to be, that becomes a big spectacle. It also perhaps makes Jane look like it discredits her because maybe to the jury it looks like, oh, she wasn't with Diddy for a while and then she decided to glom on to this other famous rapper, so maybe it makes her look like a gold digger. Anyway, she didn't get to say the name, so it's not an issue for the jury. But still, the jury does know it's a famous rapper, so they may have accomplished that anyway. So now, that story is out about the Vegas incident. All right, so now cut to June 2024, the night that they have this knockdown, drag-out brawl where he's kicking indoors and everything. After the physical violence ends, Jane says that they are laying on a bed and Diddy is saying to her, you are gonna have sex tonight with Anton. Give me your phone. He says he's gonna text Anton from Jane's phone. And as he's going through her phone to get to Anton's text, he sees some old text between Jane and Anton where there's a reference to a mutual friend, and Diddy demands to know who that mutual friend is, and that's when Jane reveals what happened in Vegas to Diddy. And that's what, once she tells that whole story, he looks, how could you go to another man's freak off? Kind of like he's saying, this was our thing, right? You were only supposed to do freak offs with me. Now you've gone to another man's freak off, though I don't know if it's fair to say that that incident in Vegas was a freak off because, as Jane testified, we have no idea if the rapper ever actually got involved with any of the sex that was going on there, or if the rapper even had sex with Jane. She did not testify to that. And then Diddy gets very upset, and his response to this is, you have to have sex with Anton tonight. And she said, I didn't want to. And then he got close to her, and this is, we've already told you about this, when he said to her, is this coercion? She says she took the ecstasy pill and ends up performing oral sex on Anton. So this whole thing about who the rapper is and what Jane was doing in Vegas and Diddy's reaction to it, this is good for the defense, right? Because no matter how you paint this, the jury, even though they don't know the name, the jury is going to think, well, here she is just off, having another sex party with someone else. This is just what she does. She's into it. Even when Diddy's not around, she's into this sort of thing. So he wasn't forcing her into this life, into this lifestyle. That's the way it's certainly going to come across. Now, if you stop right there, you'd have to say the defense wins today, right? Because they were successful in discrediting Jane. They were successful in making it seem like Jane was not forced into this lifestyle and was not sex trafficked by Diddy. I will just say this, that once the cross-examination was over, the prosecutors, Maureen Comey, goes in for a redirect. And at the end of this, I think you just feel sorry for Jane. I don't know how you can't. But the prosecutors then said to Jane, I want you to read this text message. It's between Jane. Jane tells Diddy, I know what you want, but I'm not really in the mood for that. Don't want to make you mad, but I'm not into that. Diddy says to her, all good. So again, the point here is Jane did tell Diddy that she didn't want to do these things, and he would find ways to still try to persuade her or convince her, give her drugs, and put her into this lifestyle. And she went on to say that there's a text message that Jane sent to Diddy. This is toward the end of their relationship. She said, it's been 3 years of me having to blank strangers. I'm tired. Sex is sacred to me and I can't be used like this anymore. I just wanted to make you happy, but it's creating a war inside me. I need a break. I can't be in another hotel room doing drugs and performing exhausted sex for days. So on redirect, the prosecutors really made it clear this was not something Jane wanted. She admits that she was, in her own words, stupid, thinking that the more she did these hotel nights with him, that there was a better chance that he was really going to love her, that he was going to treat her like his other girlfriends, take them on trips, and post photos. She makes the point that at the end of their relationship, she never got anything that she could even post that she was in a relationship with him. Meanwhile, all these other women did. I just feel really sorry for Jane. Whether or not she was forced, I think the defense did a good job saying that she wasn't, but, and that for that reason, yes, the defense are the winners today, but man, at the end of this, you just feel sorry for Jane. Tomorrow, Jane is done. Tomorrow, we expect that there's going to be a special agent.
Rhino pills.
After that, you better get on your job.
Tisa
All
tells.
right, we're gonna sip some tea with Nancy Grace. You know, we have been sipping tea with Nancy Grace here since the Diddy trial started. I've always watched Nancy Grace. I've always admired
Jimmy Kimmel gets a mouthful of your rear end, right? He bit right into Sean Combs, talking about having his children attend the trial is not the, quote, ideal take your family to work courtroom. The children hearing about 3 male sex workers entertaining him, their father, Sean Combs.
Enough. Every single time the Combs children heard devastating, disgusting, perverse testimony about their father, okay, the next day they were MIA. I don't know if it's because they needed to go back to their happy place and wash that visual out about the man that they love, respect, that's supposed to guide. Or maybe they look at the social media just like we do and see that the public thinks it's actually weird that a family we once thought were the most loving, close family literally will sit there and look the other way when they hear about horrible abuse and depravity with women that they largely knew for. Let's think about Cassie. She was there with Diddy for 10 years. Let's look at Jane Doe. She was there for Diddy for 4 years. These are women that they should know of some type of connection with. Again, very, very odd.
Now joining us from the Monahan Federal Courthouse is Lauren Conlon, star of Pop Crime TV on YouTube, investigative reporter. Lauren Conlon, thank you for being with us. What's your takeaway of what happened in court today?
I did confirm with Diddy's very close friend who is in the courtroom every day that Kanye, he could have gone into the courtroom. Now, the federal marshal said his name was not on this list, and they are very strict about this list. However, Diddy's friend said that Kanye would have been able to go in. However, he chose not to because he didn't want to be a distraction or a big fuss in the courtroom. So he did decide to go to the overflow room for about 20 minutes just to show his support.
What's the word on juror number 6?
Court started out this morning by raising the issue of juror number 6, and this issue, it's not as salacious or as crazy as I think a lot of us had initially thought. It really stems from this juror not living in the district that they had originally indicated, and he and a member of the jury staff, and he volunteered this information, which the jury staffer just that it was different from what he had said in the voir dire or what he saw on transcripts. And the judge had noted that this juror was questioned twice about this, and everything appeared to be fine. However, the government thought maybe there were some type of traces of deceit. They were not sure. And the defense said, look, if you want to get rid of this juror, this is one of our 4 black jurors here, so this is racial bias. And the judge said, look, I think the reasonable thing to do here is to get this juror back and question him again, which would be for the third time. He also said that there is no evidence of racial bias. It seems like it was just a misunderstanding about, him moving or something. But the defense strongly objects to having this witness questioned for the 3rd time. They think that it will affect deliberations and it feels about being there. And Alexandra Shapiro also said, look, Your Honor, if this is about an appellate issue, if Mr. Combs gets convicted and we leave this juror on the jury, we waive all appeals when it comes to this specific issue. And she even deferred to Mr. Combs in the courtroom, and the judge looked at Diddy, and Diddy said, I'm waiving it, and he actually waved his hands in the air. So the way they left this issue was that the judge would most likely question the juror at the end of the day rather than the beginning of the day, and not disrupt anything and make him feel singled out once again.
Lauren, how do you believe the witnesses held up?
Andre Lamont took the stand, and there were some evidentiary issues earlier about the guns that were found in Mr. Combs' LA home specifically. This special agent in particular, noted that he couldn't or not the guns they found, and there were 6 guns, were found in this gun safe, which was really important to the defense. They wanted to relay this. He didn't just have guns laying all around the house. And Agnifilo even raised the question of, should we have this witness here at all? Essentially, they were able to work it out where the defense would issue a line of questioning around the safe and where these guns were and the calls behind what happens when HSI raids a home with the SRT team, etc. So during the cross-examination, Agnifilo made sure to get all the points out about the guns. So, and the biggest point, again, that he wanted to make here was that the guns, and again, there were 6 of them, Glock, about 5 AR-15s, one of them was defaced, and he made it very clear these guns were found in the security room. This is operated only by security, and they're gun safe. And the special agent testified that yes, when the SRT team comes in, they are trained to make sure that a home is safe. So they take these guns out, they dismantle them, and then they set them down, and then the photographs are taken. The evidence that we saw seized by this HSI agent, we saw again 6 weapons, firearms. One was defaced. He thought it was defaced with maybe a sander because it was smooth. And there was a baggie of MDMA in a safe and 6 envelopes of K. And then they seized 2 bottles of Astroglide. And let me tell you, this Astroglide was found in about 10 boxes in the garage. They looked like giant Costco boxes or something that you would order off Amazon. And it was really interesting when Agnifilo did his cross-examination, he said, Special Agent Lamont, you've testified that you've done between 50 and 60 raids because, or raids pertaining to human trafficking because you work in that department. And he said, yes. And he said, how many times have you seized Astroglide and baby oil during a human trafficking raid? And he said, once. And it was this time. So Agnifilo just said, okay, and the baby oil and the Astroglide, it was everywhere in the house, wasn't it? And he said, yes. And he said, and the guns, they were only in the security room. So that was Agnifilo's little mic drop moment. And then Diddy's assistant from 2021 to 2024, Jonathan Perez, took the stand. He just started his cross-examination, and he was testifying the same thing that we had really heard from every other assistant, that he helped set up hotel rooms, he got condoms, he got lube, he went to the sex store to buy materials. We saw text messages between Jonathan and KK on how to set up different rooms. He talked about getting weed with another assistant. And before he took the stand, we did see him get his immunity order granted.
All right, people getting immunity, everybody, all throughout the Diddy trial. Y'all stay glued to your seat. We are going to review the Armand Wiggins interview with one of the ex-workers for Diddy, y'all. Hold tight. Hold tight. Let's listen to Gene Deal's ass. Gene Deal's ass was down to the Diddy trial, girl, hitting the knot upside the head. Somebody was saying, girl, I don't know what the fuck going on. But not for nothing, it's crazy. But let's listen to a little tea on what Gene Deal talking about with Diddy shit. Now, y'all know Gene Deal. Gene Deal is the former bodyguard of Diddy. He been all over the internet talking his tales. He done wrote a book about his times with Diddy as his personal bodyguard. People speculate that if Gene was so close to Diddy, was he ever involved? He claims not to be involved in any type of freak offs or nothing. But he does claim to be close to Diddy around the time Diddy managed Biggie. So he has, his testament to those times and trials, y'all. This is Gene Deal listening to shocking voicemails Diddy sent famous rapper Baby Mama. Let's listen in.
These voicemails by Puffy. That he sent. Listen to the first one where he calls her, crack pipe. That's the nickname he gave her because the sex was so good and he was addicted to it.
Hey, baby, we had a great time. Stay in the light. It's all good. Get your rest. You are pipe. That's my new name for you, pipe. Or should I call you CP? But yeah, I want you to stay in the light. You know what I'm saying? We had a very, very good time together. Like so much fun. So much fun. Now go rest up. Get in your bag. Mwah. You know what I'm saying? Got your contract. Find a nice little spot. Put your mind at ease. And yeah, I had a great time. And I really, really want you to get some rest. I didn't know about you throwing up and all that. That's when I was like, hold up a second. All right, get some rest, baby. Love. So if you come in for 24 hours, yeah, you always wanted to set some up. So now you got the opportunity. So set some up for tomorrow night. That last vision we had was Dawn and ATL. See you put it together, baby.
Who that? Papa Pimp Diddy Papa Pimp Diddy Pop. Diddy done turned to a straight pimp, huh, man? That's crazy. He was calling Honey crack pipe. He was calling her crack pipe, man. He said it was like crack deal. Oh my God, man. Yo, but listen here, man. They got to stop throwing old boy name under the at that. He has stopped dealing with Honey for a long time. You understand? Because you have a child by somebody, that don't mean that person represents you. You understand? You know, she was a sperm donor, basically. You understand? I feel sorry for the child. You know what I'm saying? I feel sorry for what the son might have to go through. You feel me? You understand? But, you know, everybody's, you know, because he who he is, I think half of us know who he is. Half of us know who he is. And 50% of us don't know who he is. But he don't have nothing to do with Honey, other than the fact that he's trying to safeguard his son because that's his son's mother. You understand what I'm saying? That's some whole psychological shit, man, that could F a kid up for life, bruh. That could F a kid up for life. But did he sound like some kind of Timu pimp on there? You understand? He sound like one of them Timu pimps. No game at all. But that's how he could talk to you. When you got a lot of money, I guess you could talk like that. But that shit was crazy corny, man. But they used that in court because they was talking about coercion. You understand? And by him, you know, leading them into that and having them like that, they was showing that, you know, he was Papa Diddy Pimp. And that's what they got out of that shit, bro. That's crazy right there. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel bad for the kid, bro. You understand? You know, I feel bad for her for having to think that she had to put herself in that type of position, you know what I'm saying? And allowing a man to coerce you to be in that type of position when you had other avenues that you probably could have went down. No, Diddy, go down, went down. You know what I mean? So my whole thing about it was this, bro. She was taping everything. It seemed like when she got so many tapes, it's a lot of tapes that they ain't let come in, bro. She has tapes on old boy that the trial would have been over. the trial would have been over. But they didn't let those things come in there. You could hear part of it, they stop it, then they say, the defense team will jump up and say, objection, objection, this, that, and the third. When the prosecutor, there's certain things they try to sneak in or have her talk about and hope that the defense will go down that road. But this trial would have been over a long time. Whereas and I still predict that he's going to ask them for a deal. He didn't take the first one. He's going to ask them for a deal. The only reason he hadn't did it yet, bro, the only reason he ain't asked for a deal yet is because he know they trying to take all his They trying to take whatever money Combs Global made, Bad Boy made, and bring it. If they didn't have that as being a part of this whole trial thing, he probably would have took the time. But because they saying that he used his money from his organizations, his companies, his incorporations, that they want to take everything because he uses money to commit crimes. So that don't sound like no boardroom shit. That sounds like some straight Timu pimp shit.
And listen to the second one where, he leaves a voicemail, mad that she was ignoring him.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know. You think you silent treating me, and you think I'm gonna be nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence, and ain't nobody threatening you. And I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no motherfucking games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you could be mad. I could have a spat. We could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. Hey, so either you go in the direction of like moving on and shit like that, or you just have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat. I'm just being clear. I can't do this shit with you every time you get upset.
Papa Diddy, Papa Diddy, Pimp, Papa Diddy, Pimp, Papa Diddy, Pimp, Papa Diddy, Puff Daddy. And lost his damn mind. Man, listen, he having a conversation with somebody that he dealing with right there, man. But I still don't see how that should affect somebody that somebody left alone. You understand? And had he not be who he was, people wouldn't be saying nothing about it. You understand? If it was just another Joe Blow who gave her a baby, nobody would be saying nothing like he should feel a certain way. I don't think he should feel a certain way for her and about her. I think he should feel a certain way that she allowed this dude to make her in something that she probably had in her. She probably had that in her already. And because if a dude like Puff can bring it out of you, you understand what I'm saying? You had it in you anyway. That's money and that's prestige that's got you doing crazy shit. You understand what I'm saying? That ain't got nothing to do with what he's talking about. You understand? That ain't got nothing to do with game. You know what I'm saying? And then he's talking about, yo, you got a job. So evidently, they came up with some kind of contractual agreement that she has to do certain things. And he can't say that that's not a threat when he said, yo, you just come up silence. If you coming up silence, what you doing? you're dead. You know what I'm saying? That could be taken in a lot of different directions. Because then after he said you come up silent, and then he said, that ain't no threat. When somebody threaten you and say that ain't no threat, it's a threat. You know what I'm saying? He dead wrong for that one. But to answer your question, I don't think old boy, other than something may have to do with the safety of his son, give two shits in the shape about what was going down with old girl.
Thank you.
I don't think he have a problem with that
Thank you.
at all. You understand?
If that's what you want
That's
to do.
Diddy talking to somebody he's dealing with. That's Diddy talking to somebody that's working for him, because evidently she's working for him. She's doing free calls for him, whether she like it or not.
But can you imagine how her baby daddy feel listening to that, bro?
No, I can't imagine how he feel, bro. Because when you don't give a F about somebody, you don't have no feelings about them. Why would he have any feelings about that? You understand? You know, I don't understand how when you move on, you move on. You understand? You put certain things in God's hands and you move on. Dude don't have no feelings for her. If he did, he had enough money, he had enough time that he could have probably scooped her back up if he wanted her. I don't believe he wanted her. He was blessed with a son from her. Move on. I don't think it should be an issue. I don't think people should be coming up like that. And then I know what people gonna say. And Gene always taking up for or Gene is Gene always taking up. You gotta cut that out, bro. You hear me? You gotta cut that out. All right? All right? Yo, Gene, I'm gonna do it a different way. Gene always taking up for 50% of them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Them dudes. Gene always take up for 50% of them guys, man. You understand? But, you know, it ain't that. It's just the fact that, you know, you could tell in his life he moved on from that and he taking care of his son and he don't have nothing to do with this. You know what I'm saying? His beef is with, you know, more so you only doing this to spite me. You only treating this lady like this because you got a problem with me and you can't get at me. So you're going to take it out on my son's mother. And if my son is hurting from this is the only problem he would be having. You understand? If my son is hurting from this, if his son even knew about it, you understand? Then now you got to see me. Because you're doing this to be spiteful, brother. You could do it may be wrong, but you got a lot of other chicks you could probably do this to. But you doing this to my son's mother. So I got a problem with that. And that's the only reason, the only thing I think this dude would have a problem with. You understand? If it ever comes back and his son has to be faced or know some stuff and it hurts his son. And old boy ain't the dude that, and I know it changes over time, but these cats don't understand that people come out of retirement.
All right, we're gonna leave that right there. Let me see if I can find the last bit of today's show to top off Diddy. Okay, here it is. Inside the Freak Off, y'all, we are going to review the male entertainer that tells all about the wild nights with Diddy and Cassie. Of Armand begin. No, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna come back and air that on another one. I'm gonna leave the show right there. Okay, with Gene Deal. That's what I'm gonna do. So we are going to come back up right back with the review of the Armand Wiggins and the male entertainer. I watched it last night, y'all. It was good, so I gotta review it with y'all. I'm gonna leave it off right here for wrapping up the review of Diddy Weeks 20 through 24. Okay, we're gonna leave that right there. What do y'all think? Okay, we have got explosive, crazy testimony about Diddy, 50 Cent baby mama, all type of shit. Everybody trying to hide it like we don't know that's 50 Cent's baby mama. We are not stupid. We have been hearing about it and they have been talking about it, y'all. Okay, would y'all work for Diddy to clean up the freak offs, nastiness is in the hotels and things like that, be his little drug mule for $80,000 to $100,000? Jonathan testified to that. Okay, we heard about 50 Cent baby mama coming in hot, talking about, you know, how she was doing it for $1,000 to $5,000 bag, sleeping with 4-5 different men a night. He was paying $10,000 in rent. He gave her $20,000 to open up some type of little boutique, a line of clothing or some shit she had going on, y'all. Was it worth it to be 50 Cent's baby mama and fall from that grace to Diddy's wherever to fall in the hell with Diddy? Y'all let me know. Tanisha Talks Teas. I'm gonna be right back up here. We're gonna review the interview Armand did with the male entertainer. See you in a minute. Stay sipping.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing.
We are back. I told ya. I was a no limit soldier. So I'm right back up here with some more teas to review, right? You're going to review our mind.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay sipping.